Hello friends, welcome to the session. Today we will discuss the political concept of power. Friends, power is a very important concept of political science. It actually connects the political science with social science, then with the economics, and then whole other social sciences are connected with this concept. Friends, power is a quest. Most of the great leaders of the world, most of the societies, people from different sects, people from different opinions have always tried to attain the power. Because if you do not have power, you cannot mold the things, you cannot make a difference in the society. So people with the good intentions, people with the bad intentions. In the past, both type of people have tried to make themselves establish and then to attain that power, whether political in nature or economical in nature. Any force that can derive the society is important for political science students. So we will discuss the concept of power. Most people have an intuitive notion of what it means. Actually, what is power? For different people, the power is different. For scientists, if they have done something that can we can say, for scientists power is a very mechanical concept, but there are also differences of opinion that the concept of power that is rigorous enough to be used in the systematic study. There are not many studies, or we can say there are not many articles are available which can prove the importance of power in some formulas. But a renowned scientist named Robert Dahl defined power to its comparative degree and holding between two or more people. It means something that can, if power is something which can hold people and it can make a general opinion, it can make people to come towards a general opinion. Okay, so Robert Dahl, a renowned political scientist, has a very major study in, we can say, the study of power. With this concept, we can rank the different member of society, because the different member of societies have different level of the influence, and according to their influence the power is defined, and that strata is, we can say, can be termed as the ranks. Suppose if a society is communist in nature, so it may be possible that the person who is having the most economical power, or we can say the person who is having most money, most wealth, he may not be the person who is having the highest level of the highest degree of power. The person who is having most people behind him, the person who is having his followers, he can be termed as the most influential man in a communist system. But if we talk about capitalist societies, if we talk about democratic society, the opinions are different. Different people, different societies have different, we can say, measurements of the of degree of power. Political science utilizes this concept to understand the social dynamics of the society. Suppose there is some democratic society, like we take the example of India. So if the leader of that society, suppose in Indian context we say the government of the states and the central governments, if they do not understand that how power is moving within the society, which are the people who are able to influence the society, and if the government will not try to connect itself with those people, it may be possible that the policies of the government may not reach that degree which are required to make a change. So we can say that the power is different for different societies. Economic power can be a very impactful tool and may be used by its holders. This line is very important, friends. You have to look very closely. Economic power can be a very impactful tool, and that may be used by its holders to calibrate or influence the economic policy of any state. Like there's again, I will give you an example of capitalist society and democratic society. Look, in capitalist society, the persons who have attained so much of wealth that they can even influence the policy making process of the government. Some countries like India, yes, the economical power is important, but because many of the members of the society are below poverty line, or we can say the mentality of Indian people is not like they always follow the person who is having the more wealth. So in Indian society, or in some capitalist society, or in some communist society, the importance of economic power is different. The importance of political power is different. Like the Western countries, we can say the Western Europe or Northern European countries, where the government has reached at such a high level, or we can say the mentality of people had reached such a high level, that they do not bother so much about the holding of, we can say, the political power. Like in India, we can say in the rural areas or suburban areas, people are not very much educated. They do not have access to the technology. So they are very much dependent on their leaders. They are very much dependent on the MLAs or MPs, we can say. So they always try to connect with that person. And in turn, that person again try to attain that political power. And we can see the examples that political powers many a times lead to the economic power. But in the Western societies, Northern European countries, where people are educated, they have access to the technology, so the interference of political leaders is so less in the policy making process. So this is a type of empowerment, we can say. If we empower the people with the education, if we empower the people with the equal access to technology, equal access to food, equal access to health, education, everything, then we are actually empowering them. We are actually scattering that power, decentralizing that power. Okay. So now what people do to attain power, they know that if there is a group of uneducated people, and they think that we cannot attain that degree of power by as an individual, so they form a group. And in democratic societies, groups plays a very important role. So the groups are being formed to gain the power. This is very important for you to understand. What is actual motive behind a group or a party, okay, or an organization? They somehow want to gain that power. Okay. The word power has also a verb meaning. You have to also understand that power is a verb also, and it's a noun also. In noun sense, it has just a meaning, or we can say like power or force. But in verb sense, it has a meaning like influence or control. It may not always be about the physical power, but it is also something mentally influencing the people, or socially controlling the activities of the subject. So that is the utilization, we can say, the mechanization of that word power. So power as a relation among people. This is also a very important point for you to understand. Power is defined as a relation among the people. Comparatively, it is comparative in nature. The people who is ranked high in that social strata, he may have some influence. And because of that influence, it may be possible that people connect to that person. Okay. And it also force someone, it also compels someone to do something which he would have not otherwise do. Like pressure groups in India. Groups are very important for Indian political system, because they somehow got able to protect the rights of suppressed classes, oppressed classes, scheduled tribes. There are many movements going on which actually create a pressure to the ruling government. Okay. Yes, this is a negative notion. That pressure group is a word, we can say it is somehow, it gives a negative inference, or it gives a negative hue from it. But it is very important for societies like India and many other developing countries. Power comparability. There are three parameters in which we compare the power. More power than, less power than, or equal power. If there are two persons and we try to compare the powers between them, there will be three parameters. One will be having more power than the other, or in terms of the second person, the other person, he will be less powerful than the other one, or they may be having the equal power. Now, the power comparability concept is also important for you to understand. When we learn the international relations concept, then it became very important. Suppose two leaders of the world are meeting. Then for the students of the political science around the world, or the scholars of the political science around the world, it is very important that how is that individual relationship in between those two countries of leaders of which are meeting together. Okay, so somehow the international policy or foreign policies of the countries are somehow controlled or we say that the countries are sovereign in nature, the countries are democratic sovereign like India and other countries, but somehow this international relation phenomena or international arena, foreign policies are influenced by the other countries, and that the degree of that influence is measured by these three parameters. If one is more powerful, then he will be able to influence. If less powerful, then he will not be able. If they are equal, then that concept of sovereignty will play its role. Now, some of the important questions. In the developing countries like India, the power of political actors has far more weightage than developed countries. So this is what I was telling you. What is the difference between the political powers of the leaders of countries like India, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, like many other developing countries, and the leaders of the Western world? What is the difference? Because there is a gap in education, because there is a gap in health, because there is a gap in, we can say, free markets, because there is a gap in technological awareness. People are very much dependent on their leaders in countries like India. And on the other hand, in the countries in the Western world, they are less dependent. It may be possible that the ideological factor may play a vital role, but for day-to-day business, they are not dependent on their leaders. So this is how that political power changes over the world. Secondly, power comparability plays a very important role in deciding the foreign policy of any country. That is also I was telling you that when two leaders of some two countries, or many leaders in the groupings like G7, G20, and other groupings of countries, if the leaders are meeting to each other, then this power comparability concept plays a very important role. Okay, so that's all for the session, friends.